Question 1.1.1. They want us to solve for x. We have x squared plus 9x plus 14 is equal to 0. So I need to find the value of x. So we can determine x using the factorization method. We can also use this formula: x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So any method can be used. Okay, let's try to do the factorization. To factorize this expression, quadratic expression, we first need to identify the sum and the product. So the sum of the root as well as the product of the root. So here we have sum. We have the sum, which is 9, and the product, which is equal to 14. So the sum is the coefficient of x and the product is the constant. So now we need to figure out two numbers, so that when we multiply them we get 14, and when we add them we have 9. So straightforward, we can find those numbers. So we have the first number is, because 14 is equal to 7 multiplied by 2, and then we can also say that 9 is equal to 7 plus 2. So the two numbers are 7 and 2, because if we multiply 7 and 2 we get 14, so that is, which is the product. And if we add the same number, so 7 plus 2, we get 9, which is the sum. So now the factorized expression will be x minus x plus, we start with the first number, which is 7, and then we multiply by x, and then we add the second number, which is equal to 2, and then we say it's equal to 0. So if we expand this, we are going to get that. So the reason why we are using the factorization is to obtain two factors, so that I can let each factor equal to 0 and solve the equation quicker and easier. So I have the first factor, which is x plus 7. I let it equal to 0, so I'm gonna get the first value of x, which is negative 7. So I do the same to get the second value of x. So I'm gonna say x plus 2 is equal to 0. I'm using this the second factor, and from which I can determine the value of x2, which is negative 2. So we have x1 and x2. So these are the solution of question 1.1.1. So now we go to question so now we can do question 1.1.2. So they give a quadratic expression given by 4x squared plus 9x negative 3 is equal to 0. So they want us to correct to two decimal places. If you see a question where they give a quadratic equation and then this next they say correct to two decimal places, so you just need to apply this formula to determine the value of x, because if we try to use the method of sum and product, it's very difficult to it's very tricky to determine two numbers, so that when we multiply them we are going to get a product, and when we add them we get the sum. So in that case we can just use this expression, because if you realize here the numbers are natural. The numbers that we have found from while figuring out are natural, but they can also be whole number. They can either be whole number or natural, but in that case we have to find the value of x. So we are going to say x is equal to negative b. B is the coefficient of x, so we have b, which is 9, so negative b is negative 9. We say plus or minus square root b square, so I'm gonna have 9 to the power of 2, which gives 81, minus 4 multiplied by a multiplied by c. So the value of c is negative 3. So I need to divide this by 2 multiplied by a. So I'm gonna get two values of x. X1 with b. If I use the calculator here, I'm gonna end up with negative 9 plus square root 81 minus 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by negative 3, and then I will end up to, so the first value of x is 0.29, and to determine the second value of x, I'm gonna use a negative sign. So if I use the negative sign, I end up with x2, which is negative 2.54. So that is question 1.1.2. So now we do another question. So now the question is 1.1.3. So they give square root of x squared minus 5 is equal to 2 multiplied by square root of x. So this is a that's a type of equation that includes the radical sign and the square root sign. So the first step to do is to get rid of this square root sign. So the way to do that is to apply the exponents all over. So we have the exponent 2 everywhere on both sides. So what's gonna happen is, on this side the square root sign and the square can cancel, and what's gonna happen on the other side, okay, let's first write what's gonna remain on the left hand side. So we have x squared minus 5. So on this side we need, so the square root sign is only applied to x, it's not applied to 2. In other words, I'm gonna need to find the square of 2. So 2 to the power of 2 gives 4, and then as I have the square root, I'm gonna cancel these 2 so that I'm gonna remain with x. So that square is applied to both 2 and square root of x. So next I'm gonna bring 4x to the left, so that I'm gonna have a standard form of a quadratic expression. So I'm gonna have negative 4x minus 5, so that is equal to 0. So now what's gonna happen next, I'm gonna need to solve this equation. So to solve a quadratic equation, I can use two methods. I can apply this formula, or I can factorize the expression. Once I get the factor, I'm gonna let each factor equal to 0. Okay, let's try to factorize this. I can do that using the method of sum and product. So we have the sum of the root, which is the coefficient of x. So in that case, the coefficient of x is negative 4, and the product is equal to negative 5. So now we need to find two numbers, so that when we multiply them, we get negative 5, and when you add them, we get negative 4. So if I say negative 5 is equal to 5 multiplied by negative 1, that is correct, because if I have 5 multiplied by negative 1, I can get negative 5. So that's it. This gonna work for the product, but let's try to see if it's gonna also work for the sum. If we take the same number, so we have 5 and negative 1, 5 plus negative 1, I'm gonna get positive 4, but here I have negative 4, so this option will not work. If I say negative 5 is equal to negative 1, positive 1 multiplied by negative 5. If I have positive 1 multiplied by negative 5, I can get negative 5. And if I have positive 1 plus negative 5, I'm gonna get negative 4. So that is a correct option, since it satisfies both criteria. So the two numbers are 1 and negative 5. So now to factorize this expression, I will just say x, I have the first number, which is positive 1, and then I multiply by x, I have the second number, which is negative 5, is equal to 0. If I expand this, I'm gonna get this expression here. If you expand and then you don't get this expression, then you made a mistake somewhere there. So now I'm gonna say x plus 1 is equal to 0. I have the first equation, so I use this factor to get the first equation, and then I also have the second equation. So we have x minus 5 is equal to 0. I'm gonna solve each equation separately. So I have x, I'm gonna call it x1, which gonna be equal to negative 1. I bring 1 to the right hand side, and then I have x2, which is equal to positive 5 or 5. So these are my two values of x. So we have x1 and x2. Question 1.2. They want us to solve for x and y. So they give the equation 3x minus y is equal to 4. And the second equation is x squared plus 2xy minus y squared is equal to negative 2. So that is a simultaneous equation. So in that case, I have the first equation and the second equation. From the first equation, I can write y in terms of x. So I make y subject of formula. I'm gonna have, okay, I first have negative y is equal to 4. I bring 3x to the other side, it becomes negative 3x. So I haven't yet determined y, so this is negative y, but it is not y. So to determine y, I'm going to need to divide both sides by negative 1. So I also divide this side by negative 1. So I will end up with y is equal to 4 divided by negative 1 gives negative 4. And then I also apply to that term. I have negative 3x divided by negative 1. I get positive 3x. So now I have y is equal to that expression. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace the y of the second equation by this expression. So I'm gonna start with x2 plus, I repeat, 2x. I will only replace y by negative 4 plus 3x, and then I say minus, I'm gonna replace it again. So negative 4x can be written as 3x minus 4. It doesn't matter if I switch around. So we have 2, the square, and then we have equal sign and negative 2. So now from this step you can realize that we don't have any y, we only have the x. So that is an equation with one variable that I can solve. So I will need to simplify it until I get a quadratic equation, and then I can solve this using the methods that are applied to a quadratic equation. So we simplify it first. So we multiply 2x with the first term and then with the second term, which is 3x. Okay, we start with the first term. We get negative, so here we have negative 8x, and then we have plus 6x squared. 2x multiplied by 3x gives 6x squared, minus, so here many students mistaken. What they are going to do here is they say 3x to the power of 2, they get 9x squared, and then they say again 4 to the power of 2 gives 16, and then they continue. That is wrong. So there is not a rules that can that tell the student to do that method. There has never been a rule for that. So what we are going to do here is we are going to use the identity law of factorization. So one of the identity law of factorization. So because we know that if we have a minus b squared is equal to a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So this is what we are supposed to have here. So because as we can see, it has the same form as that one. We have a, in that case a is 3x, and then b is 4. So now we are going from this to that one. So we are going to have, we start with a squared. A is 3x. 3x squared gives 9x squared. And then I have a minus. So here I have 2ab. It means 2 multiplied by 3x multiplied by 4. 2 multiplied by 3 gives 6. 6 multiplied by 4 gives 24. So I'm going to have 24x. and then I have plus, because we have a plus there, b squared, so I'm gonna have 4 to the power of 2, which gives 16, and then that is equal to negative 2. I can further simplify it so that I'm gonna have these two that can be added, so we have 7x squared minus 8x. So now I have the brackets. To remove that bracket, I'm gonna need to multiply all the term inside the bracket by negative 1, since there is nothing there, so I can say that there is a negative 1. So we have negative 9x squared. These two sign gives a positive, so we have positive 24x, and then we have negative 16 is equal to negative 2. So now I'm gonna keep simplifying. I'm gonna see if they are like terms. Of course we have the like term, and then these two are also like term, so I'm gonna add these two to get, if I add these two, I'm gonna have negative 2x squared, and I have 24x and negative 8x, so that gives plus 16x. So I have negative 16, and I bring 2 to the left. So I bring that negative 2 to the left, it becomes positive, so I'm gonna get negative 14, and then I say it's equal to 0. So I realize that there is a common factor, which is 2, so I can divide both sides by the coefficient of x squared, which is 2, negative 2. So if I divide both sides by negative 2, I'm gonna have x squared negative, because positive and negative gives a negative, so I'm going to have negative 8x, and then on this side I'm gonna have a positive, so I have positive 7, and then 0 divided by negative 2, it's 0. So now I have a simple quadratic equation that I can solve. I can either factorize it first, and then I can determine the value of x later, or I can apply this formula of x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So all the method we can use any method, but we'll still find the same answer. So okay, let's try to factorize it. I have, if I use the so I have the sum here, which is negative 8, so I'm gonna say sum of the root is negative 8, and the product is 7. So I need to find the number, so that when I multiply them I get 7, and when I add them I add negative 8. So the two numbers are negative 1 and negative 7, because if I multiply these two I'm gonna get 7, and if I add these two I'm gonna get negative 8. So these are the numbers that I'm supposed to use. So I'm gonna have x, I'm gonna consider the first number, which is negative 1, and then I'll repeat x, I'm gonna use the second number, which is negative 7, and then I say equal to 0. So now I can solve this equation easy. All I need to do here is I'm gonna take each factor and then I let it equal to 0. So if x negative 1 is equal to 0, and then x negative 7 is also equal to 0. So I'm gonna have x, I'm gonna call it x1, since I'm gonna find the value of x. So x1 will be, I bring negative 1 to the right hand side, it becomes 1, and then x2 will be 7. So I'm gonna use this equation here. So I haven't yet finished because this is a simultaneous equation, so we need to determine not only the x but also the y. So to determine the value of y, I can use the relation that expresses y in terms of x. So this is the equation expressing y in terms of x. So I'm gonna say y is equal to negative 4 plus 3x. Since I have two values of x, we have x1 and x2. So we are going to have the first value of y, which gonna be equal to negative 4 plus 3 multiplied by the first value of x. So I will now replace my x into this expression, so that I'm gonna have, so the value of x1 is 1, so I'm gonna have negative 4 plus 3, which gives negative 1. So y1 is equal to negative 1. So to get y2, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna say y2 is equal to, I'm gonna use the same expression here, which is negative 4 plus 3, but I'm gonna use x2 because I have already x2 there. So I'm gonna have y2 is equal to negative 4 plus 3 multiplied by x2, which is 7. So I will end up with negative 4 plus 3 multiplied by 7. So these two gives 21. 21 minus 4 gives 17. So I have the value of y2, which is equal to 17. So then the equation is solved.